Hi everybody, welcome to the Inner Circle. I'm Lawrence Algie.
You really had to work up the energy for that. It's been a long day. I'm Ben, and I'm so excited. We finally saw a good movie. I'm so excited. You are?
Miles.
Okay.
And this week we watched Ad Astra. And I'm going to let Ben introduce this movie.
Okay, I didn't know anything about this movie until I saw it. I just knew it was Brad Pitt in space. And I feel like I don't, before we get into spoilers, I don't want to say more. All I knew about it was that it has, a family dynamic like Interstellar does. That's all I knew.
Same.
I didn't know where they went. I didn't know what, if they visited any planets or any galaxies, or if it was, mostly on Earth, like First Man. I didn't know anything. I didn't know if it was, science fiction or if it was, full-on, fantasy fiction, whatever, science fiction. I don't know. I didn't know anything. So that's the setup for this movie.
The only thing I knew about this movie was from the trailer, which is literally the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's all I
Yeah.
knew about it. So when I saw it, I thought it was going to be more like one of the stereotypical alien epics, and it was not at all that.
I thought it was going to be more like Gravity because the trailer was just him on the space antenna.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to be the whole movie was about him up there or something.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the antenna is just a setup for the futuristic world. They don't address it. They don't address what it is. That's just part of it.
Yeah, I only knew about
I'll
it
move
because.
this around as we...
All right. Yeah. But yeah, the only thing I knew was that Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones in space.
I didn't even know he was in it.
Really?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it was in one of the trailers that I saw. That's the only reason I knew about it. And these are two interesting actors in space. Let's give it a try.
Okay, so I think I don't. What should I say? I just saw. This is the first Inner Circle we've done in a long time where I saw the movie and then immediately got here to film a review. So I'm still trying to think about do I want to say what I was saying earlier about? Okay, well I just told this some guy off screen, so I'll say here. So this movie, I didn't know this, and I was very surprised by it. This movie isn't like Interstellar or The Martian. It's not like a big space epic, big budget, action sequences, or big even big concepts as far as finding other life, finding where we came from or who made us or stuff like that. This is a really, really claustrophobic, lonely, in-depth character study in disguise of a big space epic. That's what it is. Yeah. The cinematography I thought reflects that. It's there aren't many big wide shots of stuff happening. It's very close up. You're very you don't get too far away from Brad Pitt. It's pretty much from his perspective the whole time. There's a lot of scenes of him in rooms and you see other people doing stuff, but the camera never leaves the room. It's always with him. So yeah, I thought it was very lonely and disgusting and tense. It had this tension and this constant feeling of building throughout it that I loved.
I think the sound also did a really good job
Oh, yeah.
that too, because it was, one, narration, which narration is always very personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the narration. Okay, so that's another thing I knew about the movie before going into it, is that it was narrated. And that freaked me out because I hate narration normally. This movie, though, it's about a character that's so closed off, you wouldn't know anything about him without the narration, or you wouldn't know a lot of things about him without the narration. And the narration works perfect for me because narrations that I hate are, this is like the antenna at the beginning. Well, this is what we do now. This is the antenna, and it's this year, and the antenna is up here because we use it to do this. And the narration doesn't explain anything in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't explain. Narration is just there to say, if Brad Pitt's in a room with people, he'll just be like, what were they thinking? Or these people are using me to do, it's not telling us stuff to feed the plot to us. It's just his internal thoughts. And it's not it doesn't escape the present. It doesn't go into the future, and he's not speaking in past tense. He's speaking in present tense. We're always with him. He's narrating with his thoughts in the moment. That's why I liked it.
They really like that. I also like how they kind of went full circle with the story, with the ending and opening. Nobody catch that?
I did catch that, but we're not in spoiler territory.
True. But I mean,
Do we want to get into spoilers? Do we want to talk about stuff?
I feel like with this movie, there's most like our spoilers section is going to be the biggest section. So yeah, spoilers.
Well, we just need to rate it first. Just kind of
Okay.
8.
Really?
It's my favorite movie of the year so far. This year's been terrible. Like, it's just been a bunch of mediocre crap. Nothing I've absolutely hated, except for Godzilla. But everything else has just been kind of blech. This was great. What?
Still haven't seen Godzilla.
What'd you give?
I mean, it wasn't a terrible movie. I enjoyed it. I'll give it about like 5 or 6.
Where have you been this whole review? Talk.
It just isn't my type. I was giving it is the type of movie I would watch every now and again, but it's not the type of movie that I would go and actively see. I like the story behind it, and I like the visuals and everything too. It's just not one of the main movies I would go in out of my way to see this out the blue.
What did you think of what were you feeling the entire time you watched it? Because I was really tense and disgusted and lonely and claustrophobic. Those are the words that I would describe it.
I'll be honest. I was half asleep not because of the movie. Okay. Not because of the movie. I was tired. Okay. You shut up.
Okay. Oh,
no. Lawrence wants to say no.
Nope. So you give it 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my ratings is different from yours. Is 5 or 6 to me is still like good movie I can sit down and watch every now and again. Just not as often as I would some other movies.
This isn't the masterpiece people are saying it is. Like, there are flaws I have with it, but I think 8 out of 10 is fair. That's what I think. I think it's great.
Honestly, I might give it another try.
I wouldn't watch it again soon, just because it was so, like, to me, tiring, but not in a bad way. It was just, for me, very emotionally involving. It took a toll on me. It was hard to watch sometimes, just because it was so... But I loved it. What would you give it?
This is a movie that I would like to see again, because I don't know, like I said before, it's not at all anything I expected, and it took me by surprise. And the entire time I'm watching it, I'm feeling kind of what Brad Pitt is feeling. So it was really good in that aspect. The visuals were really good. The narration to me was also really well done. I felt like Brad Pitt actually played his character really well, because it's not a character I would associate with him normally.
It's more of a Ryan Gosling First Man. I don't think y'all have seen that. But he played Neil Armstrong in that movie, and he was just very stoic, very closed off. And so this felt like a Ryan Gosling role, like him in Blade Runner. It felt like a Ryan Gosling role, but given Brad Pitt. Together, both beautiful.
But I really liked it. I thought he did a good job. I do want to see it again, because I feel like there's just so much to this movie. I feel like I want to watch it again, just analyze it. But I would give it probably like an 8 as well, maybe 7.5, depending on But I think it is definitely a movie that is worth watching for general people, because it's a personal movie. When I first saw it, that's what I thought. I was like, this is like a personal epic. It's one person's story, and I like the way it flows. I like what we learned about him. I like the way it's like his life through this one adventure. It's like his entire life kind of goes through this big change.
Yeah.
And I liked it because, like I said before, they kind of brought it full circle in a way.
There's a lot of generic, like the narration. There's a lot of generic stuff in this movie, like flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
That just worked. It just worked for me so well. I don't know why.
One of the things I thought was in the very beginning, he's talking about how he focuses on certain things, and when he focuses, everything else kind of goes away. And when they're doing this, there's a flashback at the time, and it's like out of focus. The focus is only on him. There's no sound whatsoever.
Are you talking about when his wife was walking by him?
Yeah.
I noticed that. I was expecting the focus to change and go on her, and it didn't.
But it didn't.
Yeah.
And the only sounds you hear are the keys dropping and the door closing. And I thought that was very powerful, because that's like exactly what he's saying. He wasn't paying attention to her really, because he's so busy doing, space. In space, it's his job. He's so busy with his job, but the moment he really starts to focus on her is when she leaves, and I like that. And there's a lot of things like that I want to pick up again. So I do enjoy this, and it's definitely something I would say general public should definitely see.
Yeah. Although most people are saying it's boring and pretentious. That's what the general public is saying. But I see where they're coming from.
I can see where they're coming from.
But
I wouldn't call it pretentious.
I
don't
wouldn't
think that's the
either.
right
There's some
word.
stuff at the ending that I can see people saying that, but I just think it earned everything it did. So yeah.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Well.
I don't know what I want to. Okay, so him finding his dad and then him letting his dad go. That's what I thought was kind of pretentious because it's a little cliche. We've seen that. Let me go. You gotta let me go. You know. But the way it's done, the way Tommy Lee Jones played it, it wasn't him trying to be. You have to let me go, son. He was so. He didn't break character. He didn't become all sappy all of a sudden. It was done in character. And just the whole film in general leading up to it, it serviced the themes of the movie. So I thought, again, still a little cliche, but I thought it worked. Another issue I had with it, it's mainly, again with the end, you know the part where he's on the spinny thing to launch him back to the ship? I think the visuals in that scene are great, aside from that one wide shot just showing him spinning around. I thought that was silly. Yeah. But no, that's fine. I'm just saying I think that gets a little cartoony. Like I don't really, even though this is a futuristic setting, I don't really buy the physics of that.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't buy these physics, but I'll go with it.
Even if he propelled himself like that, I don't think there was enough force for him to float completely through the asteroid field like that and make it out and then be able to push himself forward still. Because I mean, you're having like the asteroid force, obviously the gravity is coming this way, you're going that way, there's no force, there's no like real gravity in space except for the ones around the planet. So gravity around the planet is also going to be pulling you back, but somehow he was able to propel himself with enough force to break the gravity of the rings of Neptune and break out back to his ship. That is very unrealistic.
Yeah. All these movies have, like the docking scene from Interstellar, the end of The Martian when he's floating around like Wall-E. All these movies have stuff like that. But even though I thought that was unrealistic, I didn't mind it while I was watching it because I thought the visuals were just so beautiful. And I think just the message is powerful. Even though I'm the sort of person that would hate stuff like that, where they give up logic for the sake of being like, he's going back to Earth, he's going to live his life, he's fighting to go blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I wasn't annoyed by it. I thought the movie earned it. That's what I was saying earlier about the movie earning it.
Generally, when they do that in other movies, it's more, like you said, it's like sappy kind of. It's all about the emotional connection, and it didn't feel like that for them. I mean, for him, it felt more like feral, like survival, not like let me defy logic because I care about my emotions, and that's what's important because I feel this thing. No, it was just, I don't want to die here, so let me go. And I like that more because that's more, I feel like that's more realistic because humans will try to defy logic more for survival, and when in terms of survival, we will tend to come up with things that do work because it is our will to survive. So I like that. I did like that. I think one of the things I like about this movie is how they very subtly explain how common space travel is. Like when he went to the moon, they treated it just like he was on an airplane. They gave him like complimentary, like a pillow thing. He asked for a drink or whatever he asked for. I don't remember. And like even like the sound effects they used were airplane sounds, and I love that because it's like it sets up the world so subtly but so nicely. You can tell, we're in a point in time where space travel is you can just go into space. It's no problem. They have people living on the moon. They have people living on Mars. They have people who were raised on Mars and the moon. That's amazing. They didn't spend the time like an hour long focusing on that. They just, here you go.
There's even pirates popped up.
Yeah, there are pirates in space.
I
That's
love that.
Great thing.
That was so fun. Even though this movie is a really depressing movie, I love the idea of them throwing a character into a world, throwing us into a world, and not explaining it. Like with the narration, it was all in his head and emotion and what he was thinking. It wasn't, and there are pirates on the moon and they do this and blah 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 blah. Maybe there was something, but they just, that's what made it feel real.
I believe it's like yeah, there's pirates. They usually come pillage, probably take out supplies for their own. And just so nonchalantly just narrates that in his head, just like it's whatever. And like, dude, you're being shot at as we speak by these pirates, and he's just like,
See, the beauty of that is when you don't take the time story-wise to explain something, you have to do it all through the visuals, the sound effects. And that's where, like, it really shows how good of a cinematographer you are.
Hoyt van Hoytema. That's the guy, that's the cinematographer's
What is
name.
his name?
Hoyt van Hoytema. He did the cinematography for Interstellar as well, and Dunkirk, and Her, and Spectre. Yeah, he's good.
Seen Interstellar. I could see that actually. Interstellar, Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Her or the other one, but looking at the cinematography, I could definitely see similarities.
My friends and I that I saw it with, we started to compare it to Interstellar, but like, or at least I did. I don't know. But then I realized like these are two completely different movies, and not just thematics, but the way they're shot. One's very personal and close, and one's very big and epic. So I can't really compare the two. They're both beautiful in their own regard. So, yeah. I just thought of something else I wanted to say.
Okay.
The monkeys. People were saying that was out of place. I didn't think it was.
You thought it was.
Okay, the way it was shot, yes. The way the monkey popped up. I was like, oh, so that's what happened on Neptune. Something with monkeys. There's a conspiracy involving monkeys. No, they're just test monkeys that got out. I thought it was fine because with the rest of the movie not explaining the world and stuff and how things were happening, I feel like the monkeys being on that ship, being test subjects somehow, is a very standard thing. Yeah. And them getting out is a very real possibility. And it's a risk that they take, having these, like, insane creatures on there.
Yeah, exactly. If you have, like, especially if you take into context that the ship has been stranded there for a good amount of time before they got there. Like, the signal was weak, but it was still there. So that it implies subtly that they've been there for a while. They're going to go insane. And I mean, he even said it himself, oh, it's just some test monkeys that got out. Like, I don't understand why people would have a problem with it, because it makes sense. I mean, the closest way to test how humans will react in space is through monkeys. That's how they one of the first ever things to go into space, creatures that was living, was a monkey. So, I mean...
And I thought the tension in that scene was just so well done.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't... Like, when the monkey popped up, I was surprised. And for a second, I was like, what? But then I was fine with it, because I thought it was a good payoff, because just the whole time they were going through the ship was just so, like... I was just like, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? What is going to happen? So, yeah. I had that feeling the whole movie. When he was going in to see his dad for the first time, I just...
Very tense movie. They did it very well. And I love the symmetry and mirror image between him and his dad, and how when he finally meets his dad, he realizes, man, this is what I'm becoming. I don't want this. I like that, because, I mean, a lot of time, especially with the story that they were building up to, was he has a struggle with having to live up to his father's name, realizing his father isn't perfect, and realizing he needs to be his own person. I like that, because I feel like that's a story that some people do struggle with. I mean, me, myself, I'm named after my dad, and when I was younger, I thought that meant that I had to be like him, but I am nothing like my dad, so I connected with that on a personal level.
I'm not named after my dad, but my middle name is his name, and I look a lot like him, right? Don't I look like my dad?
Yes, you do.
Okay, yeah, so...
That was his girlfriend.
Hi.
Hi.
But
Yeah, but on the father-son thing, actually, like not too long ago, like earlier today, I actually connected this movie in my head to the Odyssey, but not from Odysseus' point of view, but from his son's point of view, Telemachus, because like in the movie he doesn't really know his dad. Same thing with Telemachus, but they change it towards the end to where instead of him actually getting to know like his dad, like Telemachus and Odysseus working together, they do like the opposite of it though.
Yeah.
I haven't read Odyssey in a long time. So
I did think of honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I did think of the Odyssey when I watched this as well, because I was like, this is a very personally, it's like it reminded me kind of Odysseus, except the challenges were more personal than Odysseus' challenges, but they were still challenges. Like I did see a lot of the themes of that kind of like being stuck in a rock and hard place. That definitely came up. It was like, oh, I need to go find my father, but they won't let me. Let me go break into this ship. Oh crap. I don't want to hurt you guys, but I can't let you take me in and hurt me. And then everyone dies.
I thought that scene was a little bit dramatic.
That was very
And
dramatic.
what happens when he goes back to Earth and it's like, oh, you murdered those people? I mean, he didn't personally, but he.
I thought that too, because I thought they were going to arrest him at first.
Like he told the girl that was helping him out, right? She said they're gonna come for you, and she's like, I don't care anymore. And I'm like, well, what? At the end of the movie, when he decides to go back to Earth, I'm like, well, what do you think's gonna happen to you? That's why it's a metaphor. He was so happy after his dad went away, and he was like, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna go back to Earth. And he got on that spinning thing. I'm gonna go back, and then he died. And then the rest of it was just a metaphor.
I can see that. It's
Actually, he was spinning on the thing, and he was like, ugh! And then he just floats there for the rest of his life.
And he just hallucinates what happens when he goes back to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My friend John next to me, at the very end, he was doing, when he was talking at the very end, he was doing like a psychological evaluation, right?
Yeah.
And every time he did it, it would say passed or failed, this like robotic thing. What if it like cut to black, but then you just hear psychological evaluation failed?
I would have loved that, actually.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been real cool.
Mm.
Final thoughts? We're getting close to time, so.
It's my favorite movie of the year. I thought it was not perfect, but definitely good enough for me to be very happy about it. So, yeah. I've been saying that a lot, so yeah.
I'd say go watch it. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I still think it's worth the look-see.
It's hard to recommend because a lot of people are saying it's boring. You gotta
It's
manage your expectations. My expectations were high when I first saw reviews, and then when I heard what people were saying about it being pretentious, and I heard that the narration was in it, my expectations were lowered. And I think lower expectations helps for all movies, so
yeah.
manage your expectations.
I will say that if you are a fan of personal stories, a fan of good narrative, you will enjoy this because you will find yourself going along with this man's journey, his personal story, and you'll connect to it. If you are someone who just kind of goes into these movies expecting something epic, I mean, there is epicness to it, but it's not going to be the type of epic you're used to.
No.
So, in that case, I would say this might not be a movie for you, but it's definitely a good movie, and it's worth a watch if you just enjoy movies, you enjoy stories, you enjoy good character development.
Nice.
So, I think with that, we're going to call it quits for tonight, but definitely come back next week and see what we got. Bye, guys. Turn it off. Turn it off.
No.